So there was no post-credit scene, but Adam Wingard, the director himself, said at one point there was a post-credit scene. So for full transparency, I was wrong. I was told the wrong information, like I've always said, guys. If I get something wrong, I will come on a video and say it. But furthermore, it's not a good thing that there isn't a post-credit scene, and it almost tells me, and it's backed up with an article I read recently, that is the MonsterVerse continuing? Is this the end of the franchise? Because it is the third one, King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong, the original Godzilla movie, and technically you could say Kong Skull Island is part of that franchise. So yo, what is good YouTube? Warstu here. If you are new around here, make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the pop culture based videos. Check us out on Instagram at Warstu to see the face behind the voice. Also check us on Twitter for WarstuG, aka The Nightmare. Right, let's get into this video. So as we said, I am wrong. I was wrong, but my plot leak was pretty much bang on the money. So in a recent interview, Adam Wingard did actually say there was no post-credit scene, and I thought he was just saving face, because usually what happens when you get early access to something is they don't reveal the mid-credit scene or post-credit scene at these press screeners. Trust me, I've been to endless press events. I've seen movies and TV shows early. Usually they cut out the bits they don't want anyone to know, so there wasn't one. I presumed Adam Wingard was saving face, but in a recent interview he said this: we actually did shoot a post-credit scene, but we ended up using the footage in the movie itself. We never actually edited it as a post-credit scene. It kind of got capitalized and ended up sort of being the end of the movie. We used it in slightly different context than it was originally shot for, which that is interesting. The MonsterVerse is at a crossroad now. It's really at the point where the audience have to kind of step up and vote for more of these kind of things. If the movie is a success, obviously they will continue forward, but I actually think it's good that there's no post-credit scene, because you know the MonsterVerse is different from Marvel Universe. Just because you have a universe, it doesn't mean you have to have all these things that Marvel does. And ultimately, I think it's better with sequels not to pigeonhole yourself. I think some of the best movies and films that work completely independently, and you can go into a sequel, or a movie can stand alone. But if a movie, it's totally based on a sequel, then you are just talking about the next thing that is coming up, and you can't totally enjoy the ride. But yeah, we did shoot one, but we didn't end up using it, which is kind of interesting at the end, because he kind of contradicts what he says. He said they did shoot it, but they showed it in a different context. But then at the end, he said, we did shoot it, but we didn't use it. So my initial information was there was a post-credit scene that teed up a new monster and teed up the future of the Kaiju MonsterVerse. But he kind of says there was one, but there wasn't one. We used it, but we didn't. We did shoot one, but we didn't use it. So yes, my information was wrong in some contexts, and I've said it was wrong, but it is interesting. So is the Kaiju MonsterVerse going to go anywhere going forward? Well, King of the Monsters didn't really do well from a money point of view, and these studios, except for Warner, okay, this is kind of Warner Bros, but it's more Legendary, care about money. What makes money? King of the Monsters didn't do great, and to be honest, not really any of the movies in this universe have done well domestically, theatrically, so to speak. But this release is very different. This has a stagnant release. It's already out in India, and that is why some of the press screeners in America have been cancelled, because it literally got leaked on YouTube. And please use spoiler tags if you're going to put spoilers down below. So it's out in India and some Far East countries at the moment. Comes out in America on the 31st, comes out in England here April the 1st on video on demand. So it's a very weird release, and then you've got to factor in the fact that it comes out in America. There's only selected cinemas opening in New York, and there's some in Nashville, and there's some all over the place in America, and some aren't. And you got to understand it's going to be on a streaming service. So Warner Bros, Warner Media, the Warner Group, hey, legendary money, the $250 million, allegedly, because they were not happy that it was going straight to streaming. So it's kind of going to streaming in America and where HBO Max is available, which isn't really many places. It's not looking likely that it's going to come to England anytime soon, because Sky has a massive deal with HBO. Now, it is interesting that yesterday there was an article came out about Regal Cinemas reopening in April, which is going to be good, because this movie, because it comes out the 31st, it means in terms of making money, Godzilla vs. Kong will do better from that kind of point of view. But I don't know how they can actually look at the metric of this movie does well, because generally what happens with streaming services is they don't publicly announce their numbers at all. Even for movies like the Snyder Cut, it did very well. It really did great. But from a numbers point of view, you can't even see what numbers it did, and then there's some misskewed numbers going around, and yeah, it's a bit of jargon. So as a fan of the Kaiju MonsterVerse, no one's ever going to know how well it did, except for the fact of the theaters numbers. So if we are going to get a MonsterVerse going forward, it's all going to be definitive on and decided on how well it does at the theaters. And there's an article on Variety. I know Variety is not very reliable based on recent information, information. Godzilla vs. Kong makes a powerful box office debut in China. Interesting. Data from ticket agency and data tracking system showing that the film grossed revenues of 15.3 million on the stroke of the 6 p.m. local time. At this point, Godzilla vs. Kong accounted for 88% of that day aggregate box office, which is pretty cool. That is really, really good. It's made a bit of money in China, which is cool. So the more money this makes, the more chance there is to get a sequel or get another movie, either Kong, Godzilla, Destroyer, Space Godzilla, them continuing the franchise, because Toho and obviously Legendary, all the companies involved with these movies, obviously they want this property to keep going forward, and in order for it to go forward, realistically, this movie has to do well. So there isn't really any data out there or any information, the fact there's no post-credit scene, to allude to the fact that the MonsterVerse will be going forward after this, and it would be a massive shame if it wasn't. But data is showing that Godzilla vs. Kong is poised to be Hollywood's biggest overseas debut during the pandemic era, which is really good. That is really good, because if it is, that means we get other movies with Godzilla and Kong, which is cool. Maybe they're not going to be in the same movie, but it's more money for the companies. So now the social media embargo reviews have been out. We spoke about them, and people took what I said the wrong way. Now, I wasn't actually saying they were bad reviews. I was saying, as someone that's had early access to a lot of movies in the past, you can actually go into detail as long as you don't give spoilers. They didn't really say anything that we wouldn't have already known from watching a trailer, and that is all I was getting at. So at the time of recording this video, 28 reviews listed on Rotten Tomato got 79%, which is good. I know people say Rotten Tomato isn't a very good source, but studios love their movie to get fresh. So it's currently rated fresh, which is beating Godzilla. They got 67%, Kong Skull Island got 75%, and King of the Monsters got 42%. So at the moment, I know 28 isn't a lot, but it's not out in a lot of countries, and press screenings apparently haven't really gone out to many people unless you're from a really big publication. So it's nearly double what King of the Monsters did, which is great. It really is great. It really is. So as long as this movie does well from a money point of view, and as long as critics don't slam it too hard, it doesn't look like they have been, then maybe we'll get another Godzilla movie or Kong movie down the road, which will be freaking cool, because just because Godzilla vs. Kong is coming to an end and the content is, I will still be covering Godzilla, Kong, Kaiju, MonsterVerse videos. I've got a bunch of plans of what I want to do, breaking things down, explaining stuff, doing theories and this kind of stuff. If you guys want me to do that kind of stuff, hopefully you do. I think you do, because I've had a bunch of messages on my Instagram at Warstu of people asking me to do more Kong versus Godzilla, Kaiju, MonsterVerse content posters coming out, which is pretty cool. So I've read a few of the reviews, and some of them are mainly positive, but there's one or two negative ones, which realistically, it doesn't really mean much, because these reviews are subjective and everyone is technically a critic. It's just a case of, are you verified? Are you Rotten Tomato verified? So they're very subjective, but overall, the reviews at the moment are pretty cool, comparing it to Fast and the Furious, but with Titans, which is pretty cool. So like always, guys, let me know, do you think there will be a future Kaiju or MonsterVerse movie, or will this be the end? So like always, guys, this is a short, informative video breaking down what's been happening in the Kaiju MonsterVerse universe. Basically, talking about why there isn't a post-credit scene, why it's a bad thing, why it's a good thing, but there really was one, so I was kind of right in a roundabout way. Also breaking down why this movie's got to do well on streaming, and it's got to do well at theatrical for the company to make another one, and also breaking down the reviews, and the review score is pretty decent at the moment. So like always, guys, any feedback will be cool. Any recommended videos, any video requests, just dropping down in the comments down below. Check us out on Instagram at Warstu, Twitter at WarstuG, and I will catch you in another video very soon. Catch you later.